So today we're going to make a Madeira cake. It's a very traditional English cake, very similar to the American pound cake. Many people think that Madeira cake came from the Madeira island, but in fact the reason it got its name is because it used to be drunk with Madeira wine. Now probably more often served with afternoon tea. It's a very buttery, light cake, very easy to make. Normally I put a bit of lemon juice in this recipe. You can have other flavours in it as well, but traditionally it's got a bit of lemon in it. Sometimes it can be iced on the top, but it's quite nice just as a nice afternoon cake. The full recipe is on my blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk. So the ingredients we're going to use for Madeira cake is a lot of butter, 240 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature. Caster sugar, 200 grams. This is actually golden caster sugar, which just gives that little bit, sort of more of a very delicate brown sugar taste, which I quite like. 3 large eggs, and I've got the zest of 1 lemon and the juice of 1 lemon. And then this is 300 grams of flour, but it's actually 220 grams of self-raising flour and 80 grams of plain flour. Different recipes use different things. Some recipes use ground almonds rather than the plain flour. I quite like that mix, I think it works well. And to cook it in, we've got a loaf tin, which I've just put a bit of greaseproof paper on the bottom and greased the tin. So it's a very simple recipe. The first thing we're going to do is cream together the butter and the sugar. So the butter needs to be at room temperature, so all in the bowl. Add the sugar in, and then using an electric whisk, I'll just cream the two together. So after a couple of minutes, it'll start to go soft and creamy and slightly light in colour. I'm just actually going to add the lemon zest at this stage. So just put the lemon zest in, and then just give it a quick whiz round. So the next stage is to add the eggs one at a time. What I'm going to do is put 1 egg in and just add a sort of tablespoon of flour at the same time, and that just helps stop it curdling. So again, just a quick whiz round. And then the same again with the other 2 eggs. So the next egg and another tablespoon of flour, and so on. So once you've mixed in the 3 eggs, we then have to add in the rest of the flour. And I actually tend to mix this by hand and just do it a bit more gently than using an electric whisk. So just put the flour in, and then I'm just going to use a metal spoon, not in a folding motion, but it just mixes it a little bit more gently. So once that's pretty much mixed in, just put our lemon juice in, and that will just make it a little bit runnier. And then we have our cake mixture. Once it's all mixed together, then spoon it into the tin, and then we'll just sprinkle a bit of sugar on top, which is the traditional way to do it, and then bake it in the oven. So once you put it in the tin, just wipe the sides down so you don't have bits of cake mixture along the side, because it may impede it from rising properly. And then I'm just going to get maybe about a tablespoon of caster sugar and just sprinkle that over the top. And then it goes on a fairly low heat, on about 170 degrees centigrade. It will take about an hour to cook. So put it in the oven on a non-fan setting. So the cake's been in the oven for an hour, so I'm just going to check and see if it's cooked. Looks to have risen well and looks very Madeira cake like. So just pop the cake tester in, or a knife, and that's come out nice and clean, so that looks cooked to me. So we'll take that out, and I'll just leave it to cool in the tin and then turn it out onto a wire rack. Once the cake has cooled down, we just need to take it out of the tin. So just run a knife along the edge. You'll probably find as it started to cool, it's just come away from the sides slightly anyway. So once you loosened it out, it will probably come out fairly easily. I'm just going to catch it in my hand, take the paper off the bottom, and then put it on your rack to finally cool. Now, you could put some icing on the top. Some people put sort of a lemon icing, just made with icing sugar and lemon juice. I quite like Madeira cake just as it is, like that. So that's a recipe for traditional English cake, the Madeira cake. The full recipe is on the blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk.